Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here, this time reviewing on issue 1 of Turtles of Grayskull. Now, as you know, Turtles of Grayskull is meant to be a crossover between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I think we've all know what obviously Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and He-Man were, toy products from the 80s, and if you were kids who grew up in the 80s, having your own little personal fantasy with He-Man, Transformers, also the real Ghostbusters, this feels like your childhood story done right. So let's get on with the story. It starts off with, obviously, in the city of New York. We see how April and Master Splinter are waiting for their message from the Turtles, who are now in Eternia. And we see how they are helping, obviously, the residents of Eternia deal with, obviously, the forces of Skeletor, who've now been helped by Shredder as well as Krang. And Splinter saying, boys, are you okay? All right, sorry, Father. We did kind of disappear and then say, well, call ya with a weird elf. Huh, you probably were. Probably really worried or bad. If you guys would kill, I can tell them everything. Can I tell it? Feels like it'd be more challenging if I do. And we see how obviously Mikey points out everything that's been happening. And of course, even point out how Shredder and Krang have joined forces with Skeletor, the Turtles showing up, joining with Man-at-Arms and the others. And of course, right away, the Turtles obviously dealing with whatever Skeletor and Shredder are working with. And we see, obviously, Donatello saying something heartfelt and deep about how even Man-at-Arms questions if obviously having Prince Adam take the sword was a good idea and didn't really want him to miss out being a kid. And this is also Splinter knowing the same thing, that obviously he didn't want the Turtles ending up fighting against Shredder, Krang, and the Foot Clan. And this is like a parent knowing that they didn't want that life for you, but it was just one of those things that was going to be forced to happen. And we see how Man-at-Arms gets the help of everyone around them to take down Shredder, Krang, and Skeletor. And we see right away the Turtles, along with characters like Orko, Stratos, the Neutrinos, Metalhead, and so forth, go against Krang, Skeletor, and so forth. And we see how they've even modified the whole slime pit to become a sort of mutagen bath. And right away, we see how the Masters of the Universe take down Skeletor's forces, along with basically Shredder's forces. Characters like Slash, Trapjaw, Leatherhead, the Mousers, and so forth. And everyone's all duking it out. And we even see how Skeletor says, the tide turns. We should join our minions on the battlefield. And we see how something happens to, obviously, Skeletor, and Krang saying, to think, the idiots thought our most ambitious project together was, Mouse Jaw. What an utter lack of imagination. And we see right away Prince Adam's also been mutated and also becomes a force to be reckoned with. And we see how the Sorceress is horrified by seeing how much carnage Prince Adam has done. And we see how obviously Rena ends up in a different time, different place, and it's where obviously the Turtles were held captive by the Triceratons. And right away, they do the big sort of gladiator thing, where the Turtles come face to face with the Triceratops All-Star team, and bringing forth a third party, which is obviously He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe, leading to an all-out bloodbath that is obviously going to happen. And this is the story. So I feel like issue 1 is okay, but it's just there to obviously set up crossover filler. Something to kind of give 80s kids or kids who grew up into the 80s to remind them of the toys they used to play, doing their own little weird crossovers and so forth. Not a bad issue, definitely enjoyable, so it still deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, comic reviewer here, signing out.